Great, thanks, Dave. Good morning. Today is Monday, March 11th, 2024. This is an adjudicatory hearing before the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, but because we are holding this virtually, I'm going to make a roll call. Commissioner O'Brien, good morning.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Skinner.
Good morning.
You shifted on me. And then good morning, Commissioner Maynard.
Good morning.
All right, we'll get started. As I said, this is an adjudicatory hearing before the Massachusetts Gaming Commission relative to a request for a finding of durable suitability for Plainville Gaming and Redevelopment LLC for operations at Plain Ridge Park Casino. I'll refer to Plainville Gaming and Redevelopment today as PPC. My name is Kathy Judd-Stein, and I'm chair of the commission. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Commissioners Eileen O'Brien, Brad Hill, Keisha Skinner, Jordan Maynard. The entire commission will preside over the hearing and decision of this matter. This hearing will be conducted in accordance with 205 CMR 101.01, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 10 and 11, and 801 CMR 1.02, Information Fair Hearing Rules. This hearing is being conducted via remote collaboration technology. Before we begin, I would like to explain the process that will govern this proceeding. First, a notice of hearing was provided to PPC in advance of today's hearing. Therein, it identifies the issues that this hearing is intended to address. The Commission has indicated that it will specifically be considering the issues discussed in the notice, including the following: the durable suitability of Plainville Gaming and Redevelopment LLC pursuant to 205 CMR 215.01, subsection 1. The historic and ongoing relationship between Penn Entertainment, Inc. and Barstool Sports, Inc. We'll refer to that as Barstool, including the due diligence completed prior to entering the relationship with Barstool, the details of the separation agreement with Barstool, continued use of the Barstool Sports branding between August 8th, 23 and the full transition to ESPN Bet, and responsible gaming guardrails around social media at Barstool Sports. The historic and ongoing relationship between Penn Entertainment and ESPN, including the relationship between the ESPN media business and the ESPN sports wagering business, including but not limited to all policies and procedures to prevent overlap between the two. And finally, the suitability of HG for capital management. I'll turn now to Deputy General Counsel Justin Stumpeck. Good morning, Justin, to explain the suitability standard that we'll be considering during our discussion today.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Good morning to all. So we're here today to consider a durable finding of suitability for PPC under 205 CMR 215.01 subsection. The Commission adopted Section 215 of the regulations to govern suitability determinations, and it included provisions allowing for a durable finding of suitability, also known as the final determination. It also included a provision relating to a preliminary finding of suitability. PPC currently holds the preliminary finding of suitability, which the Commission approved on January 12th, 2023, along with its temporary Category 1 sports wagering operator license. The finding of preliminary suitability was based on an evaluation of the criteria set forth in 205 CMR 215.01 subsection 2, 205 CMR 218.06 subsection 5F, and General Laws Chapter 23N, Section 6D, as well as reliance on previous suitability information that was obtained from the applicant's prior gaming application under General Laws Chapter 23K. As you know, General Laws Chapter 23N, Section 6D permits the Commission to consider the information from 23K in event evaluation of suitability for sports wagering. You may recall that the durable finding of suitability for the other Category 1 sports wagering operator license at Encore Boston Harbor and MGM also relied on that prior suitability established under General Laws Chapter 23K. Just as a quick refresher, the suitability criteria that was enumerated in the subsections I just mentioned above include the following items: the overall reputation of the applicant, including but not limited to the integrity, honesty, good character, and reputation of the applicant and qualifier, the financial stability, integrity, and background of the applicants and qualifier, the business practices and business ability of the applicant to establish and maintain a successful sports wagering operation, whether the applicant or qualifier has a history of compliance with gaming or sports wagering licensing requirements in other jurisdictions, whether the applicant or qualifier at the time of the application is a defendant in litigation, and that could also include litigation involving its business practices, the suitability of all parties and interests of the license, including affiliates and close associates, and the financial resources of the applicant, whether the applicant or qualifier is ineligible to hold a license under 205 CMR 15014, or General Laws Chapter 23N 9A, or General Laws Chapter 23N Section 6E, whether the applicant or qualifier has been convicted of a crime of moral turpitude, whether and to what extent the applicant or qualifier has associated with members of organized crime or other persons of disreputable character, and finally, the extent to which the applicant or qualifier has cooperated with the IEB during the review of the application. Under the terms of 205 CMR 215, addressing suitability, any durable finding of suitability must be supported by clear and convincing evidence, not just substantial evidence, which is a lower standard used for the remainder of the licensing applications. Our jurisprudence tells us that clear and convincing proof exists when the evidence induces in the mind of the fact finder a reasonable belief that the facts asserted are highly probably true, and the probability that they are true or exist is substantially greater than the probability that they are false or do not exist. For evidence to be clear and convincing, it must be sufficient to convey a high degree of probability that the proposition to be proved is true, and it must be strong and positive and full, clear, and decisive. In the matter before you, you may choose to award a durable finding if you conclude the applicant and each of his qualifiers has demonstrated their suitability by clear and convincing proof. Such a finding would be a positive determination under 205 CMR 215-01E and may include conditions and restrictions if applicable. If the commission determines that the evidentiary burden and suitability is not met, it would issue a negative determination with respect to suitability. And with that said, Madam Chair, I turn the proceedings back over to you.
Thanks, Justin. So I understand that PPC is represented by counsel here today, and I'll ask that Mr. Soriano to please identify yourself and your team today.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Soriano, Vice President, Chief Compliance Officer, Penn Entertainment. With me is Aaron Chamberlain, Senior Vice President, Regional Operations for Penn Entertainment, and North Groundsel, Vice President, General Manager for PPC.
Okay, thank you all. At the conclusion of my opening comments, this proceeding will commence with the IEB's presentation of its findings to the Commission pursuant to 205 CMR 215.01 subsection 1 and 205 CMR 115.03. Any commissioner may ask a question of anyone presenting information at any point or following the presentation. At the conclusion of the IEB's presentation, the licensee through counsel will be afforded an opportunity to ask questions of any individual who presented information on behalf of the IEB as well. At the conclusion of the IEB's presentation, the licensee will be given the same opportunity to make a presentation. They may call any witnesses and present any other evidence they desire. As before, any commissioner may ask any question of any witness or presenter at any time during or after any presentation. PPC may raise any objection it desires at any time. However, the basis for all objections must be clearly stated. After the licensee's presentation, the Commission will address each topic area from the notice of hearing in turn, and each commissioner will have a full opportunity to ask questions, any witnesses concerning those topic areas before moving on. Finally, at the conclusion of the presentations of all the evidence, the licensee will be provided an opportunity to make closing remarks summing up its views on suitability. Before we begin, I understand that there are a number of exhibits for consideration of this hearing that have been submitted in advance. Those exhibits are as follows. Commissioners, I'm sure you've had the chance to view them all, and Grace has made those available to you. Exhibit 1, request for hearing on finding a durable suitability dated December 8, 2023. Exhibit 2, request for renewal of a temporary license to conduct sports wagering. Exhibit 3, letter from Chris Soriano concerning follow-up items dated January 26, 2024. Exhibit 4, IEB cover memo dated February 16, 2024. Exhibit 5, executive summary regarding suitability dated November 17, 2022. Exhibit 6, supplement to executive summary regarding suitability dated November 21st, 2022. Exhibit 7, Penn Entertainment letter regarding Barstool dated November 4th, 2022. Exhibit 8, Penn Entertainment letter regarding Barstool dated November 10, 2022. Exhibit 9, IEB report regarding conditions of licensure dated September 26, 2023. Exhibit 10, IEB exhibit list for IEB report regarding conditions of licensure dated September 26, 2023. Exhibit 11, IEB exhibit packet for IEB report regarding conditions of licensure dated September 26, 2023. Exhibit 12, ESPN bet marketing documents submitted by Entertainment. And then Exhibit 13, IEB HG for memo. Are there any objections to these exhibits being marked and entered into evidence?
None from PPC, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And those exhibits shall be admitted into evidence, and for purpose of ensuring a clean record, I ask that everyone, when possible, please refer to those exhibits by exhibit number in referencing to any of those documents. If anyone would like to have additional documents entered into evidence during the course of the hearing, please ensure they are properly introduced and marked for the record. As explained, the Commission anticipates that its inquiry at this proceeding will be related to the matters addressed in the notice of hearing relative to the licensee's durable finding of suitability. In the event that a line of questioning conducted by the Commission moves into an area that has not been included in the report or notice, but that is material to the final determination of this matter, any party may request a recess in the proceeding in order to review the issue. The Commission will deliberate privately and make a final decision at the conclusion of the evidentiary portion of the hearing. The decision will be issued as promptly as possible. If at any point during the Commission's deliberations it determines that further testimonial or documentary evidence is desirable, it reserves the right to ask the appropriate party to provide such evidence prior to a final decision being made. We will now swear all the witnesses in. Counsel are all the individuals. I think, Chris, you confirmed this, but are all the individuals you anticipate presenting testimony in this matter present on this call?
They are, Madam Chair.
Okay, and with respect to IEB, Justin?
Yes, I believe IEB has everyone. Caitlin, I think your whole team is here, correct?
Correct. Okay, thank you. Is there? Okay, and if there is anyone who is not present who will later testify, I'll be up to both IEB and PPC to let us know, and we'll place them under oath. So with respect to those who are testifying or anticipate testifying, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will provide before the Commission at this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. And I can confirm that all have responded in the affirmative. Justin, you saw the same, correct?
Correct.
Okay, a proceeding of this nature necessarily requires the consideration of a wide variety of information that takes several forms. In this case, some of the information documentation may include commercially sensitive information, and the public discussion of such information may place an entity at a competitive disadvantage if such information were to be publicly discussed. For the Commission to be able to execute its legal obligations effectively and diligently prior to making a final finding, it must be at liberty to fully inquire relative to any of these sensitive matters without compromising the individuals or entities involved. To do otherwise would be, at a minimum, unfair and potentially unlawful. Accordingly, my colleagues and I may elect to exercise the discretion afforded in accordance with 205 CMR 101.01, paragraph 7, to close this proceeding to the public to fully address certain matters. Under the same regulatory section, PPC may request that portions of this hearing be closed to the public as well, and any such request will be considered in turn. Before we begin, it is my understanding that 2 pre-hearing conferences were conducted on this matter, one on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024, and another on Thursday, March 7th, 2024, with representatives of the licensee, the IEB, and legal counsel, in which procedural and evidentiary issues were discussed. Does anyone have any preliminary issues or objections they'd like to raise as a result of those meetings?
None from PPC, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
None from the IEB, Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Mercer. I wasn't sure who from IEB was representing today, so good morning, Zach.
Good morning to you as well.
With that, I'll ask counsel on behalf of PPC, beginning with Mr. Soriano, to please proceed with any opening remarks that you would like to make. Good morning again.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I will defer to Mr. Groundsel to provide our opening comments.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Good morning, Madam Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you today. As we begin our time together, Madam Chair, we wanted to recognize that this may be one of the last times that we are scheduled to appear in front of the Commission with you as Chair. And on behalf of the entire PPC team and Penn Entertainment, I want to thank you for your more than 25 years of service to the people of the Commonwealth. We recognize that public service comes with many sacrifices, both for the individual serving as well as their families. And we do thank you for your willingness to serve the Commonwealth these many years. It's been a privilege working with you, and we do wish you the very best in the next chapter. The purpose of our, you're welcome. The purpose of our meeting today is set forth in the agenda is our request to receive a durable finding of suitability for Plainridge Park's retail sportsbook. And as the Commission is aware, we submitted extensive documentation with our initial application in 2022 and many of the exhibits that you cited in your exhibit list. And we had 2 public hearings before the Commission that resulted in an issuance of a preliminary finding of suitability. Since that time, we've submitted the additional documentation and information requested by the Commission and worked closely with the IEB to have this matter ready for you today. I want to thank the entire IEB staff for their thoroughness and professionalism. There's extensive documentation in the record today that addresses questions that have been raised by the Commission. And the retail sportsbook at Plainridge Park is operating successfully as the sportsbook at Plainridge Park and has been a welcome amenity for our property, particularly with the opening of our permanent facility, which has operated as the sportsbook at Plainridge Park since its opening this past summer. We respectfully submit that we have satisfied the standards for issuance of a durable finding of suitability and request that the Commission issue that finding. My colleague and Chief Compliance Officer for Penn Entertainment, Chris Soriano, and I are happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, North. And again, thank you for your kind words and for opening up this hearing. I want to make sure now that IEB has the opportunity to present. Is that correct, Justin? Okay.
Yes, I think procedurally probably makes the most sense for them to try for Zach to make his presentation and then to proceed to course.
Thank you, Attorney Mercer. Good morning again.
Good morning, Chair. Zach Mercer for the IEB. Along with me today are IEB Director Caitlin Monahan and Interim Chief Enforcement Counsel Kathleen Kramer. As detailed by Madam Chair, there are a number of exhibits that were submitted. I don't have anything by way of opening remarks, but I am prepared to proceed into the IEB's presentation in chief.
Okay. With that, I think you should proceed with your presentation, Zach, and questions will be then presented. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Plainville Gaming and Redevelopment LLC, doing business as Plainridge Park Casino, or PPC, is a subsidiary of Penn Entertainment and currently holds a Category 2 gaming license under General Laws Chapter 23K and a Category 1 sports wagering license under General Laws. I'm sorry, a temporary Category 1 sports wagering license under General Laws Chapter 23N. This summary will detail the timeline of PPC's application regarding its Category 1 sports wagering license. On November 21st, 2022, PPC submitted an application for a Category 1 sports wagering license. On November 17th, 2022, the IAB submitted an executive summary regarding the suitability of PPC as a Category 1 sports wagering licensee, which has been submitted for today's proceedings as Exhibit 5, along with its attachments marked Exhibits 7 and 8. The IAB also submitted a supplemental memorandum to the executive summary on November 21st, 2022, which has been submitted as Exhibit number 6. Under General Laws, Chapter 23N, Section 6D, the Commission can leverage the information obtained in suitability investigations performed pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 23K, in sports wagering license suitability determinations. PPC and its qualifiers were found suitable by the Commission in connection with its application for a casino gaming license under General Laws, Chapter 23K in 2013. Consistent with the process followed for Category 1 sports wagering license applications for both MGM and EVH, which also had prior findings of suitability under 23K, the IAB's executive summary relied upon PPC's Category 2 gaming license suitability investigation and its ongoing responsibility to update the Commission with additional information. The IAB confirmed in its executive summary that PPC's Category 2 gaming license remained in good standing at the time of submission. At the time of its application, Penn maintained a marketing relationship with Barstool Sports Inc., Barstool, a sports and entertainment company. Barstool ultimately became a wholly owned subsidiary of Penn on February 17, 2023. Penn's relationship with Barstool involved branding their sportsbook operations in Massachusetts as Barstool Sportsbook. On December 6, 2022, PPC began its presentation on its application for a Category 1 sports wagering license to the Commission. On December 15, 2022, Penn Chief Executive Officer and President Jay Snowden submitted a letter to the Commission in response to questions raised in the December 6, 2022 meeting. Penn returned to the Commission in the December 20, 2022 meeting to provide additional information. On this date, the Commission found PPC preliminarily suitable for a temporary Category 1 sports wagering operator license, which was issued on January 12, 2023. The Commission's determination was contingent upon two conditions upon PPC. The conditions imposed were as follows. 1, the operator make efforts to ensure that only those 21 and older attend all live events conducted by the Barstool College football shows. And 2, the operator must cooperate with the IAB in conducting a fulsome investigation of Barstool Sports Inc. in connection with its branding of Penn Sports Interactive. On January 4th, 2023, the Commission imposed the same conditions on the temporary Category 3 sports wagering license of Penn Sports Interactive LLC, or PSI, the tethered operator to PPC and another subsidiary of Penn. On March 14th, 2023, PPC was subject to an adjudicatory hearing for a non-compliance incident involving the offering of unauthorized events for wagering in violation of General Laws, Chapter 23N, Section 3, 205 CMR 247.012A2, and the Massachusetts Sports Wagering Catalog. Following the hearing and a decision dated July 21st, 2023, the Commission found PPC in violation and imposed a fine in the amount of $20,000. Following the Commission's implementation of the licensing conditions, the IAB began an investigation into both areas of inquiry. On August 8, 2023, amid the IAB investigation, Penn divested its interest in Barstool and announced a new strategic partnership with ESPN, a sports media company. This partnership has resulted in the rebranding of Penn's mobile sports wagering platform from Barstool Sportsbook to ESPN Bet. The IAB submitted its report regarding PPC's conditions of licensure to the Commission on September 26, 2023. This report has been marked as Exhibit 9. The exhibit list and exhibit packet for that report are also included and marked as Exhibits 10 and 11. In addition to its discussion of the two conditions implemented by the Commission, the IAB report also addressed Penn's divestiture of Barstool. The IAB presented this report to the Commission during the October 2nd, 2023 public meeting. On the same date, Penn presented an overview of its new partnership with ESPN. Penn's mobile sports wagering platform maintained the Barstool Sportsbook branding until the launch of ESPN Bet on November 14th, 2023. On November 7th, 2023, Penn came before the Commission to present further information regarding their marketing partnership with ESPN. In that meeting, the Commission requested that Penn provide documents related to the ESPN Bet marketing of their mobile sports wagering platform, namely the policy separating their news gathering functions with sports wagering marketing. The Commission set a deadline on December 11th, 2023 for Penn to provide supplemental materials. On November 10, 2023, Penn provided a series of documents in response to the Commission's request. These documents are marked as Exhibit 12. On December 8th, 2023, PPC requested an adjudicatory hearing on its finding of durable suitability and requested a new renewal of its temporary license. These items have been marked as Exhibits 1 and 2. The IEB has also submitted a supplemental memo regarding recent developments involving an institutional investor for Penn, which has been marked as Exhibit 13. The IEB has submitted these materials to assist the Commission's determination regarding PPC's durable suitability and confirms PPC's gaming license remains in good standing. The IEB has not learned of any additional information that would disturb the prior finding of suitability. And that concludes the IEB's remarks at this stage. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Zach. Commissioners, will open up for any questions you have for Mr. Mercer or other members of the IEB relative to the report. I'm sure you're following along with the reports and the exhibits. Well done, thank you. Questions?
Madam Chair, I have some questions for Mr. Soriano and Mr.
Okay.
Round, maybe Attorney Chamberlain.
Could I just hold for a second before we go
Sure.
to PPC? Do you have any questions for Zach at this juncture, commissioners, for clarification or otherwise? Any questions?
I do have one, Madam Chair.
And
Attorney
also
Mercer,
questions on the standard too. Let's think about that. All right.
So Exhibit 12, is that the sum and substance of the materials that were submitted in response to the request that was made by the Commission in terms of the interplay between ESPN, BET, ESPN, and Penn?
Correct. Those are the items that were submitted on the November date as stated in the IEB's presentation. That is the extent of everything that I have received.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions, commissioners? Any questions for either Attorney Sembeck or Attorney Mercer with respect to, for Justin, the standard, or for Zach, the IEB presentation? We can always go back to. All right. Commissioner O'Brien, you have questions for Mr. Soriano?
I do, and some of these, Madam Chair, I think are probably most appropriate for a private session. It's following up on some of the materials relating to the Barstool divestiture, which I believe are not for public consumption.
Okay, so let's just take.
So I just wanted to.
Let's just one question at a time and
Yep.
slow it down. Okay, good. Thanks.
So I put that out there to park it, as you like to say, in the parking lot, because I don't think it's for right now, but I wanted to put it out there. The public consumption question, and again, please, Chris or North or Aaron, stop me if this is also private session, but the shift to ESPN Bet, you gave us a number of materials, Exhibit 12, right, that related to some of the questions we had about the interplay between the sports watching experience and the sports betting experience. I want to start this off by saying that my experience with you as a company has been, in terms of compliance and suitability, has been fantastic. And so I don't ask these questions anticipating any issues necessarily. I just point out something that I think is inherent in the interplay between marketing and sports betting companies, and in particular because ESPN, is the sports broadcaster right now. When this launched in November 14 of 23, Jay Snowden, talked about the benefits from sort of this interaction and this experience, and was looking for, I believe the phraseology was, a seamless and frictionless experience between being able to, watch and consume the sports itself, and then also have the betting experience on ESPN Bet. And you've submitted a number of materials to us on that point. I still have concerns going forward about where that line is going to be and what that's going to mean. And I have no questions to doubt what you've submitted in Exhibit 12 in terms of, what the standards are, what the AGA guidance is on this point. But there are concerns that I have about responsible gaming, and particularly those under 21, in terms of consuming sports and that frictionless, seamless experience, still having a wall so that there's no confusion. I think ESPN did a Super Bowl broadcast where they had Toy Story and they had the different characters acting out the game, etc. That's clearly not a betting situation, it's clearly the gaming experience, the sports watching experience. But I want to continue to have a dialogue going forward. And I don't know if my fellow commissioners have questions on this, but whether there's a more detailed conversation about how that line is towed in a way that is responsible, particularly for those under 21.
So, Commissioner O'Brien, I'm happy to start, and good morning. It's nice to see you as always. I appreciate the question. I think you've raised what is something that everyone is thinking about industry-wide. I think that you see, as you see, lots of content out there involving the integration between content and betting. I know a number of other companies have shows where they discuss betting, as as there's ESPN Bet Live, as there's streaming content. So I think it's a global, I think it's a global issue, and I think it is a conversation that is worth continuing, as you have very eloquently suggested. We at Penn, and I appreciate your comments, Commissioner O'Brien, about our commitment to compliance. I know we've had some disagreements over the years on specific issues, but I do speak on behalf of the company that compliance is of critical importance to all of us. And so thinking through these issues is, I think, something that we would welcome, a continued dialogue with the industry. And this commission in particular has often been a leader in terms of hosting roundtables and industry discussions and workshops and bringing in the experts and looking at research-based conclusions as to how we address this. We're happy to participate in that going forward and to really look at how we do this. In terms of the question that's before us, I have to, as a lawyer, my lawyer instinct requires me to say that, for purposes of the record, I think the ESPN online guardrails and the durable suitability of PPC, there may be some gap between those two, but I'm happy to discuss it today. Having said that, we've really spent time in terms of thinking through where that wall is. And I hope that the commission could see that from the depth and breadth of the materials that we submitted. This was not something that was thought up overnight. This was something that was really thought through and spent a lot of time on. And when you look at walls and when you look at separation, I think you start in the sports betting guidelines documentation. You start with the fact that both us and ESPN ESPN is a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, are publicly traded entities. And we are subject to thorough and careful codes of conduct, conflict provisions, et cetera. So you start with that fundamental basis that as publicly traded, regulated companies, we think about these issues of conflict and where do they start and where do they end and how do we think them through. And so in the thorough policies that we came up with, we feel confident that that's a good way to address the issues that you talk about. In the same way, Commissioner, by analogy, in the land-based casino, let's lay aside sports wagering, let's just go to the land-based casino. There's always the potential for inherent conflicts in the land-based casinos, where surveillance is the second eye on the count, for example. And so as a result, we've implemented good controls and good procedures since really the beginning of regulated gaming to make sure that surveillance has its line of reporting, finance has its line of reporting, the cage does its thing separately, and that there's no crossover between the two. And we've tried to think that through the same way here in terms of how we address conflicts. But very much appreciate the question, and we would welcome a continued dialogue on this subject.
Mr. Soriano, to provide more detail, could you provide more detail if we were in a private session, or would your remarks be concluded with what you just explained just now?
I think, again, Madam Chair, I think we've covered it between the documents that are in the record and the remarks that I just made. But I heard Commissioner O'Brien, and please, Commissioner, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, as suggesting that perhaps an ongoing industry-wide look at dialogue at this issue more generally would be appropriate going forward, not just today. And so that is something we'd be happy to participate in.
Commissioner O'Brien?
Sure. Yeah. So to your point also, Attorney Chris Soriano, is your point also about your Cat 3 versus why you're here today, there is a distinction, and I wanted to flag it today because there is this close association and affiliation, right, between your retail book, even though it has a different name, and so to the branding of your online. And so I do think this is a conversation that will continue as we look at durable for the Cat 3. And I do think that, you have a unique position in terms of that line with ESPN and ESPN Bet. So I do think an industry-wide conversation, I think we need to have it. And I do think we'll be circling back to this as this goes forward on the Cat 3 durable suitability.
Absolutely, Commissioner. And again, we don't necessarily have to wait to a Cat 3 durable
Right.
suitability hearing to have more discussion about this. We'd be happy to have it whenever the commission would like to.
Yeah, that's great. I would like that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Sariano or for North? We have Erin here as well. Questions for her? So I appreciate your question, Commissioner Bryan, and having just spent time with some of the national industry leaders as well as regulators. This is a conversation that is taking place across the nation, and I think the continued collaboration between regulators and industry will address this issue because it is going to be at the heart of integrity of sports wagering, and everyone has the same goal of keeping it safe and sustainable. So important conversation, and one that really, with respect to the Cat 3, the most relevant. Okay. Other questions for either IEB or for PPC? If you need to be prompted, remember you can go back to first exhibit or the notice of hearing. I guess that's actually not an exhibit, but at the very beginning of our packet, remind yourself of the issues that can be addressed to make sure that you have no outstanding questions once we get to deliberations, because I'm hopeful that we won't have to reconvene to have any other questions answered. Does everybody have the chance to look at the notice?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just saying that I joined Commissioner O'Brien on questions around Exhibit 3, which are probably best suited for not in this forum.
Commissioner Maynard, I'm going to interrupt only because I want you to know I don't think we heard all of your statement. I think I'm not singular, right, commissioners? Okay.
I also had an audio issue, Madam Chair.
So I think we have no problem with you just trying to, just repeat everything, Commissioner Maynard.
So I went off video, so my audio hopefully works better.
Yep,
I
it
said
sounds a little better. Okay.
I joined Commissioner O'Brien in her questions around Exhibit 3. I think it's probably best suited for not this session, but I will have questions around that.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Madam Chair, no questions, but Mr. Soriano, I think I just want to add to what Commissioner O'Brien and Commissioner Maynard have said. This is really something that we're very concerned about as a commission. And we certainly look forward to any dialogue in the future that will help us get over any angst that we may have toward this issue. So please don't take by us being quiet that we don't care about this, because we really do.
I appreciate that, Commissioner, as do we. And so I think this is a healthy conversation for us to all have.
Commissioner Skinner, do you have anything you want to add at this point?
Not at this point. I think my fellow commissioners have covered it quite nicely. That particular item, that particular issue.
Any other questions concerning other issues? Okay. Does any commissioner have any questions for any witnesses present here today? Generally, with respect to the durable suitability of Plainville Gaming and Development LLC pursuant to 205 CMR 215.01 subsection 1. Okay. Before we continue, I want to make sure, Mr. Soriano, that you're all set. Does PPC have any presentation or a question of any witnesses, further presentation of evidence, or any questions that you wish to ask at this juncture?
We do not, Chair.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go through the notice, even though I'm not hearing any questions, Justin, just out of an abundance of caution. With respect to the second bullet from the hearing notice in its first subpart, which states the historic and ongoing relationship between Penn Entertainment Inc. and Barstool Sports, including the due diligence completed prior to entering the relationship with Barstool. Does any commissioner have any questions for any witness present here today with regard to that topic? It has been raised in our notes as relevant to suitability, so I don't want to have the opportunity to miss and have it. Okay, I'm double checking. Thank you, Commissioner.
So yeah, and I think again, my comment before about sort of the divestiture, so this might have some interplay with what I said earlier, but it's a private session matter. It's not for public consumption.
Okay, so with respect to Barstool, so
Correct.
the silence wasn't with respect to the overall hearing, and I want to make sure. So this is good. Thank you, Brian. So we'll reserve that for respect to the Barstool due diligence that will go into private session. Does any commissioner have any questions for any witness present here before we go into private session on that, other than Commissioner O'Brien? Something that could be public. Okay, hearing that. With respect to the second bullet from the hearing notice and its second subpart, which states the details of the separation agreement with Barstool. Does any commissioner have any questions for any witness present here today regarding this topic? Again, the private session is available if we wish to, but we like to be able to conduct as much in public as possible. Again, this doesn't have to be conducted in public at all, but it is part of our commitment to transparency.
So this, again, just as you're checking the box, again, this is all just the same follow-up for private session.
Okay. Okay, I think, Commissioner, you were getting at this with respect to the second bullet from the hearing notice and its third subpart, which states continued use of the Barstool's branding between August 8th, 2023 and the transition to ESPN Bet. Were you addressing that earlier? Do we have continued discussion on that in private session?
I am satisfied as to this Cat 2 process on that point right now.
That's what I understood.
Yeah.
Commissioners, do you have any? I think we've all concluded we're satisfied with that it may come up with respect to Cat 3. Am I right? We're all set? Okay. With respect to this second bullet, again, I think you've covered this, Commissioner O'Brien, with respect to the responsible gaming guardrails around social media at Barstool Sports. And to be clear, the exhibits address this from PPC. Are there any other questions on that before we move forward for private session? Okay. With respect to the third bullet from the hearing notice in its subpart, which states the historic and ongoing relationship between Penn Entertainment and ESPN, including the relationship between the ESPN media business and the ESPN sports wagering business, including but not limited to all policies and procedures to prevent overlap between the two. Am I right that Commissioner O'Brien, you're satisfied with respect to what's in our exhibits for today's purposes?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, anybody else feel differently than Commissioner O'Brien? Okay. With respect to the third bullet from the hearing notice in its subpart, which states, oh, sorry, I didn't check that off. Okay, with respect to the fourth bullet from the hearing notice, which states the suitability of HG Board Capital Management, that was addressed in the Exhibit 13. Are there any questions that you want to ask IEB for clarification around that matter in the public session or PPC? Everybody's had a chance to review Exhibit 13. Any need for that to be discussed in private? Okay, thank you. Okay, so now that we have heard all the evidence in this matter, before we move to closing remarks, I'd like to turn once again to my fellow commissioners to make sure there are no further topic areas that anyone would like to explore, and that all of our questions have been answered so that we can avoid reconvening. Okay. That sounds like the commissioners have been very satisfied with the evidence put before us, and thank you. We'll give everybody the opportunity to make closing remarks. PPC will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement summing up its position, though no need to do so. Mr. Soriano, would you like to proceed before we do go into private?
Yeah, Madam Chair, very briefly, and as I understand, there are questions regarding Exhibit 3, which it's the Commission's preference to take entirely to private, or do we want to go question by question, or I will certainly do it however the Commission would like. But that said, we're confident that we have submitted substantial evidence and documentation that establishes by clear and convincing evidence that PPC meets the standards of durable suitability. I would like to thank the Commission staff, Mr. Stempeck, and of course the IEB staff, Director Monahan, Council Mercer, Chief Counsel Kramer, and the rest of the team for really their thoroughness and professionalism throughout this process. In terms of the collaboration, I know there is a lot of information that we've been presenting on this topic now for quite some time, and the dialogue and professionalism with the staff has really been excellent. But on the legal question, I believe that with our initial presentations, plus all of the supplemental documentation that we've submitted, plus any questions we may answer in private session that the Commission may have, that we have satisfied the standard by clear and convincing evidence for the issuance of a durable finding of suitability, and we would request that the Commission so find.
They are excellent, aren't they, Mr. Soriano?
Excellent.
Okay. We, the Commission, echo his remarks with respect to our team. Thank you so much. With respect to commissioners, are we all set to move on then? I think for our purposes, Justin, a little bit of guidance, we're going to be brought into a private session. There's no reason for us to have to go back into public session, correct? We can close out from the private session. And so I guess what I would say is we thank those who have joined us for this adjudicatory hearing. We'll continue with our private session, and then the Commission will deliberate in private. For those who are not going to continue joining us, thank you very much. And at this juncture, Tom and Dave, you'll move us into a new
I set up a breakout room and I can open it now, so everybody should get a notification momentarily.
yeah, we don't have to go to another link, then just we'll go to the breakout session. All right, excellent. Thank you so much, everyone.